What's up, guys? My name is Brad Hicks. This is the first video that is going on my personal channel. The last channel, we deleted it. We're not doing the podcast anymore. So I'm going to just start doing my own little thing here and just a little bit of everything. Mostly centered around kayak fishing and all that stuff. But anyway, I got a video here today. I'm going to walk through the Crescent Shoalie I got set up out there in the driveway and the Newport NK180 Pro. I'm going to show you the whole setup, how I have mine set up. Maybe you guys can take some ideas and use them on yours. So check it out and enjoy the video. Alright, we're going to start off with the NK180 Pro here on the Crescent Shoalie. I'm going to show you how I have the mounting plate installed on the kayak here because it's a little different than what other people are doing. So what I did first was drilled holes in the Shoalie. There's 4 spots marked in the mold of the kayak where the bolts go. And then you're going to want to run the bolts up through the bottom. I'll tell you why here in a few minutes. This mount kind of doesn't line up with the bolt pattern on the Shoalie for some reason. I think it's just the mold issue. So you're going to have to drill new holes in the mount here. And that actually brings the motor closer to the hole anyway, and it makes your ride a little bit more flat when you're on the water, and you're going to gain more speed anyway. So it's good to do that. The reason why I say to run the bolts up through the bottom first and then tighten them down on the top is because it makes it very hard to put a bolt inside of the hole of the Shoalie here. And as you can see, like, the back bolt is right up against this corner, so a nut does not fit exactly flush with the bottom of the top here. It's a lot easier if you're doing the bolt up through the bottom because you can use your Allen key down in here to hold the bolt and then tighten the wing nuts here on top. And I suggest using the wing nuts right there. You can get them at Yak Attack, or DeBro Fishing has some track knobs, or just any kind of quarter inch 20 knobs will work right here, and that tightens it down, makes it nice and easy, so if you ever need to take it off pretty quick. I got my power lines running to the quick disconnect here, which runs through the hatch on the rear of the Shoalie. And then I use the Yak Attack through hull kit so I can run it through the hull. My wires go all the way to the front of the kayak to the Newport quick disconnect, which has 2 terminals in there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's nuts, terminal rings. You put the terminal rings on, you tighten them down, and that allows you to put this quick disconnect on so you can unplug and plug the battery in super quick. I like having the motor in the front of the kayak because it just levels out the kayak when you're on the water. That way you're not dipping too far back. You're going to lose speed if you're doing that. So you want to distribute the weight as much as possible. And I tend to get about 6 miles per hour on this setup. Got your steering lines hooked up to the triangle there, and have them running through this little notch right here that's molded into the Shoalie. You drill a hole right there about 1/8 inch thick, run some tubing through there, and I got it running through the hull of the kayak, coming out right there, so it's a nice straight shot to my foot pedals. So the tubing makes it nice and easy to run your steering lines through. I got Spectra cable from Innovative Sportsman. You can get 10-foot sections from them online. Run that through the tubing, coming out of the kayak there, and to the Wizard foot steering, which is a 2-bolt pattern. You could adjust it back and forth for different kayaks, but it does fit on the Crescent Shoalie with some modification. The modification I'm talking about here is that you have to bump out the track 3/8 of an inch from this edge right here, because if you don't, the rollers here on the bottom hit the mold of the kayak and it doesn't allow you to use the foot pedals like they're intended to. Right now I just have washers in here, but it's probably a better idea, which I'm going to do eventually, is get starboard, that's 3/8 inch thick, and the length of this whole thing, and put it behind there and then bolt it on. That way you don't got any flex. This does flex a little bit, but it's not too bad. So the water line on the Crescent Shoalie is about right here. As you can see, there's a mud line right there. Anyway, Newport suggests that the motor, the propeller, be 6 inches under the water surface to the top of the propeller. So you can see I got the mud line here. This is about like that is how you want to set the shaft of the motor. I think it's about 3 inches right here if you measure down from right there to the triangle. I actually don't use any lift lines or reverse lines, and I'll show you why. So for the reverse, I got this idea from Russ Snyder's. He uses a bungee on the back, so I got this heavy duty bungee, as you can see. I ran it through the holes here, tied on a knob on both sides, and then wrapped the bungee around the shaft of the motor. That allows me to go in reverse at 50% throttle without it kicking up out of the water, but still allows me to have that movement right there if I do hit a rock or a log. For the lift lines, like I said, I use no lift lines, so what I do is raise the motor by pushing both of these pedals forward with my feet, and it raises the motor. I'm going to show you how I do it. All right, that's it for the motor setup on the Crescent Shoalie here. I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of my ideas I had for the Newport NK180 Pro. I'm going to show you everything else now, how I have it set up with some different things that not many other people are doing. Check it out. So before, I was using 2 of these on one side. These are the Yak Gadget horizontal rod stagers. I had one back here, one up here on this gear track, and after a while I just didn't like it. So what I did was, I'm using one now. I have a bungee wrapped around this eyelet here, and what I'm doing is putting a rod here and a rod here and running them through here so it stages them out the back there and up off the kayak, and then I'm bungeeing them in with this bungee, and it wraps around that notch there. So if I do flip or anything, your rods are going to be nice and safe. That helps as well. Got that on both sides. My horizontal rod stager there. This is what the rods look like from the back. So on this side of the kayak, you have handles here. I don't use those handles ever. I'm using that to hold in my catch board. But on this side, I took that handle off and I put some Yak Attack roto grips there. And that holds my paddle in place all along the edge of the kayak. This is what I was using to hold the paddle. You can see the paddle holder there. I put it in this gear track, and the paddle sat on top of my rods basically, and sat pretty high, which was kind of annoying because I had to move my paddle to get the rods out of the rod stagers. So I ditched this thing and I started doing this, and I like it a lot more. It's less claustrophobic, I guess. As the video went on, you're probably wondering what this thing was. So I got it on a aluminum ram ball here. Got a little dog bone to an extension, and that is the quad lock mag charger. I'm going to show you what I use it for. My phone case, got my phone. It has a little pattern here that you can connect this onto that by simply pulling back on this, installing, and twisting, and it holds your phone in place. That's how I take my pictures. Also, there's a little charging port there. You can plug in a cord there, run the cord to a 12-volt battery inside of there, and that charges your phone wirelessly while you're on the water. I came up with this idea because I was sitting here thinking, what can I use to get the net from off the kayak like that, because my feet would always hit the net, bump it off and all that stuff. So what I came up with was rising it here a little bit with a knob, using a longer T-bolt, and then putting a rotor grip on top, and my net fits in there nice and snug. It's not going to fall out. Gets it out of the way from my foot so I don't knock it off the kayak, and problem solved. I failed to mention my throttle placement for my Newport NK180 Pro. So this is a cool idea I had. I bolted a Yak Gadget fish finder mount onto the seat, drilled a hole through the dog bone and the seat frame, bolted it on, and you got your throttle mounted onto that plate by Velcro here, which, as you can see, it's really tough to get on and off, so it don't just fall off. And that saves me room here, so I'm able to get into my tackle boxes and everything. Before, I had it sitting here or wherever else, and it was just getting in the way too much. So I came up with the seat idea, and I really like that. The Shoalie is set up really nice for motor. So what I have is my throttle cable here. I got it all zip tied together nice and neat under there. And then I have it running through that channel here in the back, and then through these eyelets, and that just keeps it nice and neat in place, and it goes up to the motor and connects to the motor. Here's my traveling setup for the Shoalie. As you all know, it has that rod saver strap here. I got all 7 of my rods sitting on the deck of the kayak when I'm traveling to the river or the lake or whatever, and I have them sitting in different spots. I'll have one here, one through there, 3 here in the middle, one through there, and then one on that side. I haven't had an issue with them moving, jostling, or anything. Also, I do travel with the motor on the kayak. I know a lot of people don't do that, don't like it, but it saves time, and I've never had an issue. I've been doing this for years. So typically you have this little thing here that sits below this. I take that off. I don't even use it. That allows me to pull the motor up as far as I can onto the kayak, so the weight of the motor is distributed there. And what I do is I take a cam strap, wrap it around the shaft there, wrap it around the seat, and then I tighten it down. That way it's not bouncing or anything. As you can see, I'm shaking the kayak there, and the motor's not doing anything. So it's not going to crack the plastic or anything. Been doing it for years. Very handy. Can't forget the red flag here. I always have it tied on to the reverse trim bar here. That way I'm legal. But anyway, that's my whole setup for the Crescent Shoalie. I wanted a build that was very simple, very easy to set up and take apart when getting on the river. Something that wasn't super heavy, lightweight, and I think I nailed it with this setup. So I really love it. Everything about the setup, everything I've thought through this kayak, it's perfect for me. So if you do like some of these, feel free to take my ideas. That's what these videos are for. If you guys have questions, drop them in the comments, and I will answer any questions you have, or we could just talk and brainstorm. Maybe there's an idea that you guys have that I don't have on my kayak, but maybe I would like to have on my kayak. So give and take here, guys. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't know what I'll be doing for my next video, but stay tuned.